Greetings, Dr. Dan with Optimal Optics here to introduce Unit 16P, a word problem on pupils, ports, and stops. This assumes you have already viewed Unit 16, and viewing Unit 8 on thin lenses will also be helpful in understanding what we'll be going over here. So the question says an object is placed 100 millimeters in front of a lens with a diameter and a focal length of 50 millimeters. An adjustable circular shutter has a diameter of 28 millimeters. It is 15 millimeters in front of the lens. Determine the locations and the diameters of the aperture stop and the entrance and exit pupils. So we have an object at point M, and when we send a ray from its base to the edge of the shutter, we see that the shutter is the limiting factor in how much light enters the system. There's still plenty of lens above where the ray hits the lens. So therefore, the shutter is the aperture stop. Since there's nothing in front of the shutter, looking at it from object space, it is also the entrance pupil. Now, when you look at the shutter from image space, from behind the lens, now it's going to look different. And therefore, we're going to have a different place and a different size for the exit pupil. So the shutter now becomes the object for the lens. The object distance is -15 from lens to shutter. The focal length is +50, going from left to right from the focal point to the lens. The thin lens formula is 1 over u prime minus 1 over u equals 1 over f. We'll plug in what we know and solve for u prime, which will be the distance from the lens to the exit pupil, and it equals -21.43 millimeters, someplace around there. Now we'll determine the size of the exit pupil. The formula is y prime over y equals minus u prime over u, where y prime is the image size and y is the object size. And we plug in what we know, and we find that y prime equals -40 millimeters. So because it's a circle, you'll never know if it's upside down or not. We could just say that the image size is 40 millimeters, and it would be about that big. So that is our exit pupil. And again, it's located 21.43 millimeters in front of the lens, and it is 40 millimeters in diameter. And again, just so for the sake of completeness, the shutter is the aperture stop and the entrance pupil, which are located 15 millimeters in front of the lens and 28 millimeters in diameter. Now, just to show you that the location of the aperture stop can change depending on the location of the object, let's move our object M to this place 5 millimeters in front of the lens and send a ray from its base to the edge of the shutter. Now we see that ray misses the lens. So now the lens is what limits the amount of light that enters this optical system, and the lens becomes the aperture stop, the entrance pupil, and the exit pupil. So I spoke about cameras in Unit 16 and f-stops and how you can adjust the amount of light that enters the camera by adjusting the f-stop setting. So do you think if a nude man takes a photo outdoors that he could be convicted of indecent exposure?